in order for this born again to happen, it had to happen just like Isaac. God makes a promise in advance before Isaac was born. This is where the doctrine of election comes in at, okay? Just like with natural birth, like Isaac didn't ask to be here. He didn't choose to be the promised child. He didn't choose to be the second born. He didn't choose to be the one that Sarah birthed. The apostle said, you are children of the promise just like Isaac. You were born contrary to nature, just like Isaac. You are children of the free woman, just like Isaac. So heavenly Jerusalem, all right? So being that Sarah serves as a sign of heavenly Jerusalem, and Isaac is the one born of Sarah, and God told Sarah at the right time, Isaac, or he didn't say the name at that time, but at this time next year, you're going to have a son. So the kingdom of heaven that was prepared before the world was made. For anybody that don't understand or don't agree with the doctrine of election, it's coming up right now. You can't argue against it. The new birth is being born of Sarah. Sarah's heavenly Jerusalem. The person born of Jerusalem, born of heaven, is Isaac, or, like Isaac in this regard. We're all the little Isaacs here. But the Lord had a conversation and made a promise to heavenly Jerusalem before Isaac was ever born. And at the right time, God would then cause this child he promised to heavenly Jerusalem to be born and come through heavenly Jerusalem. This is why the doctrine of election and predestination, all those things are true, because this is illustrating the promise. And this is why Christ said, I've come down from heaven to do the will of him who sent me, and this, and not do my own will. And this is the will of him who sent me, that I should lose none of all those he has given me. And this is why Christ prayed later on in John, in the garden, in John 17, and said, they were always yours and you gave them to me. How are they always the Lord's? It's because the Lord had already made a promise to Jerusalem, the kingdom of heaven. At the right time, this person is going to be born. All right. And you can't be born in there through a natural birth. You got to be born through a spiritual birth. So the natural birth came first. And then God said at the right time, they're going to experience a spiritual birth. And so that's why when a person came to believe, or you read in the book of Acts, it said all those who were appointed to eternal life believed. All right. So as I mentioned before, Christ goes into detail, explaining more and more in more detail about these two separate worlds, the kingdom of heaven world and this particular world here, where it's corruption and the God of this world, Satan. And how there's those who belong to this world, and then there's those who live in this world but don't belong to it. And so Christ came to save those who don't belong to this world. Yes, we know they're believers, but as we see through the Gospels and what we just read, is that these people always belong to the Father, because the Lord always planned to cause them to be born of heaven. And he determined that before they were born, just as he did with Isaac, because he made this promise to heavenly Jerusalem. So